So we're going to show you how to pull up the transcript evaluation form. This is how your counselor keeps track of what you need to graduate. So you'll notice there are a bunch of classes listed. This is your counselor's job to keep track of this, but you also need to keep track of it so that you can make sure that you're selecting the right courses for what you want to take and what you still need to take so that we have as many people keeping an eye on it as possible. We're also filling this out because we are going to be selecting courses for next year within the next several weeks. This is to help inform that decision so that you can make the best possible decisions about what to take next year. So in order to pull up this form, you need to go to the Ottawa High School homepage. So that is ohs.hcbe.org. Once you get on the homepage, you will scroll down, and underneath the box with the pictures, it says Student Transcript Evaluation Form 2020. So you'll click on that. If you are on a Chromebook, it's going to open up right away. Mine went to downloads, and then I'm going to drag it to my Google Drive. So again, if you're on a Chromebook, it's probably going to pull up something like this. And what you're going to do at that point on a Chromebook, when it pulls up, you're going to say File, and there will be just a few options, and you'll say Save as Google Sheets, and that will save to your drive. You'll know that you did it correctly if you can type, and it lets you type, and it'll save it into your Google Drive so that you can access it whenever you want. I have gone ahead and typed out the counselor emails over here on the right. So if you have any concerns, you can email them, and you can pause that screen. And these are last names A through E, last names F through L, M through R, and S through Z. Those are your counselors. So go ahead and contact them if you need anything. So this transcript evaluation form lists all of the classes that you need to graduate. So you can see English 9, 10, 11, and 12. So that's one English every year. For math, we have Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and Fourth Math. For the first three maths, that is the order you have to do them in. And then for the last one, there are quite a few options. And you do have to take a math every year, regardless of how many you have. So if you finish junior year and you already have 4 math classes, you still have to take another math senior year. And unfortunately, that is just a state requirement. For science, there are 3 sciences required. Biology, either chemistry or physics, and then 1 other science. So most Ottawa High School students have either physical world concepts or environmental science, but some might have others, including scientific research. You might have biology, chemistry, and physics. You might have come from a different school and have completely different science, but you have to have biology and then either chemistry or physics and then another science. For social studies, there are 3 required. You have to have world history, U.S. history, and then a half credit of government and a half credit of economics. World history is taken when you're a freshman. U.S. history is taken when you're a junior, and government and economics are taken together when you're a senior. So there's no social studies for sophomore year. For other requirements, we have either 1 credit of wellness or 2 credits of ROTC, and those are usually taken when you're a freshman. For fine art, students have to have at least 1 fine art in order to graduate. The fine arts at our school are art, art history. We used to have theater, choir, band, and then general music. So you have to have 1 of those. Half credit of PE and half credit of personal finance. Those are usually taken together when you're a sophomore. So if you're going to be a sophomore, you're going to want to request those. For foreign language, you have to have 2 of the same language before you graduate. So that's going to be Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, French 1 and French 2, German 1 and German 2 are the ones that we offer. For the elective focus, this gets just a tad confusing. you have to have 3 in the same area. So it's sort of listed here, but there will be more details when we do our course request form. The elective focuses will be listed in groups, and they'll be listed in parentheses so that you can figure out what you have already had and what you still need to complete your 3 credits in the same area. If you are a freshman or sophomore, you're also going to be looking at Epsos. So Epsos are early post-secondary opportunities. You have to have 5 before you can graduate high school. They basically tell us that we have to offer you opportunities to get college credit. So if you have an SDC class, SDC stands for State Dual Credit, then you have to complete the class and take the exam. We have SDC World History, so most freshmen right now are in that class, and most sophomores took it last year. We also have, so that counts as World History and an EPSO. We also have SDC US History, and most juniors who were juniors last year and most juniors now are in SDC US History, so that counts for US History. And your second EPSO, if you took World History. Any AP classes, if you take the class and take the exam, AP classes count as an EPSO. So if you took World History, US History, and 3 AP classes, that would count. Dual enrollment classes count as EPSOs. So this is for the sophomore and freshman class. Juniors and seniors, current juniors and seniors don't need to worry about that because it's new starting with the current sophomore class. So now that we have gone over the transcript evaluation form, we are going to get into your student power school so that we can look at what classes you have taken. So what you're going to do is go to Power School. So it is powerschool.hcde.org/public. Public should be the one that comes up automatically. You're going to type in your username and your password. If you don't know that, then you'll need to email your counselor. Once that pulls up, it'll pull up Power School, and I have the student's name cut off here, but it'll pull up in the window, and you're going to go to the tab on the left and click on Grade History. Grade History is where you can see your history of your grades. So once you click on that, it shows all the tabs. You might not have this many, but you'll probably have more than one. It might list middle school grades, but for our purposes, we don't care about middle school because you probably didn't get high school credit. The only exceptions would be if you took a class in 8th grade that specifically were intended to count for high school credit, and that might be algebra or possibly Spanish, maybe 1 or 2 others. You are going to click on the first tab that you're in high school. So for this student, it is 1718 OHS. So after we clicked on 1718 OHS, we can see all of the classes that the student took in 9th grade. So we have Honors Algebra 1, we got a B, 91%, 1 credit hour. Honors English 9, A, 97, 1 credit hour. Art 1, Wellness, Culinary 1, Honors Physical World Concepts, Spanish 1, and World History. So if you notice, when we're going through that has included a lot of our graduation requirements. So what we're going to do, you're going to start with the first tab that you were in high school, and you're going to put that in your transcript evaluation form. So for this student, we'll just start at the top. So for algebra, they got a 91. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that 91 in the algebra spot so that we know that she took that class and passed it. For English 9, we're going to put 97. If you are a current freshman or sophomore, you probably took genre literature. For every class that doesn't have its own spot, it's probably because it is an elective. So you're going to list all of your classes, elective classes here. So this student didn't take genre literature. but our current 9th and 10th graders probably did. So let's say the student got a 92. So then we would list our electives over here because they don't count for any of these other things, but they do count over here. The same thing goes if you took algebra part 1 and 2 or geometry part 1 and 2. Again, this student didn't, but I'm putting it here in case that applies to you. So the first part doesn't count for the math credit, but the second part does. So algebra part 1, maybe we got an 80, and then algebra part 2, which counts as our math credit, we got an 85. So then we would put that there. And the same thing goes for geometry. I'm going to go ahead and erase these because we're wanting to keep it accurate to this student. So let's do art 1. We have a 93. And that falls into the fine art. And you know what, we could even write art 1, 93, just so that we can remember that it was the art class. Wellness, 99. If I had taken JROTC, we have to have 2 credits of JROTC, so then we would look at both of the grades. So we would say 80, and we also got a 90 the next semester. So that is, we would put both because we took both. Next, we took culinary 1. Now you'll remember, culinary does not fit into any of these spots. We don't have to take culinary, but this student decided to take culinary. So we will put that under electives. Culinary 1, we got a 98. Honors physical concepts, we got a 90. So that is the freshman science. Spanish 1, we got a 97. So that is foreign language, 2 of the same language. So we're going to go ahead and assume the student took Spanish 2, and then that grade was a 97. Last thing for 9th grade year was world history and geography, and the student got a 97. So go up to world history and geography, 97. If it just says world history, that's okay. And if it says SDC pilot world history, that is the same class. So that's a 97. So then you're going to go to the next tab over. And so for this student, I took a picture of what that was. So this is the student's 10th grade year. So for personal finance, she got a 100, and it was a half a credit hour. Everything is supposed to be a full credit unless it's listed as not needing to be a full credit. So these 4 are pretty much the only ones that don't have to be a full credit. So we got a 100 for personal finance. For contemporary issues, we got a 96. So contemporary issues was another elective. So we're going to say contemporary issues. I think that was a 96. So you'll notice now we have 2 electives. When you look at the course request form, when we select courses, you'll see that these 2 don't fit together for the major study or elective focus, but that's okay. But that would mean the student would need either 2 more culinary or 2 more humanities to go with contemporary issues. We have English 10, 93. Biology, 91. Geometry, 93. PE, 100. And again, you'll see that was a half credit, but only a half credit is required. Sociology, we got a 94. Sociology is one of those electives. Spanish 2, we got a 94. So that's good. So that's our second language in the same area. And then weight training, we got a 100. And weight training is going to be another one of those electives. So we listed our grades for all the electives, and this is where we just listed our electives. So that was all that this student had for sophomore year. So now that we have done all of the classes from last year, we are going to look at the classes from this year. So this student is currently in English 11. So because she hasn't finished it, we don't know that she's going to pass, but we can assume, assuming the student's doing well in this class. So for English 11, we're going to write current because we know that we're in English 11 right now. We're also in Algebra 2, and we missed U.S. history, and then we are also in Culinary 2, current. So these are the classes that we're currently in, and let's say we're also in PE. And I list PE here because we already have the PE credit taken care of, so that's just an extra elective now. So now that we're selecting classes for next year, especially because if I'm going to be a senior, then that means that I need to select anything that isn't filled out on this whole box. So I need to select English 12, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight that. You don't have to highlight it, but this is just for us to explain how to notice what is still blank. So there's something in English 9, English 10, and in English 11, so we need to grab English 12. Same for Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, so now we need another math class, and those will be listed on the course request form. We took Biology and Physical World Concepts, so now we need either chemistry or physics, so I'm going to select either one of those. And you know what? Somehow we missed U.S. history this year, so we'll need to make sure we take that when we're a senior, and government and econ, because all three of those are blank. We've taken wellness, the fine art, PE, personal finance, all those boxes are full. Spanish 1, Spanish 2, those boxes are full. And so then the only thing we have left is the elective focus. The reason this says list failed classes here is because if you happen to fail geometry, then we would want to write it down here. So we would say geometry 48. Well, if you got a 48 in geometry, we need to make sure we get that passing because that's a graduation requirement. So we would also need to make sure that we take that next year. So for the elective focus, you'll notice when you look at the course request form, you have to pick 3 that go in the same category. So Culinary 1 and Culinary 2 go in the same category. So this student could next year do Culinary 3, or this student has contemporary issues and sociology. Those are both humanities. And so then the student would need another humanities class. Psychology and sociology are humanities classes, as well as many, many, many others, but psychology and sociology are both SDC classes, which means state dual credit. So those count for the Epsos. If you're a current freshman or sophomore, then you might want to think about getting your Epsos. And so the student could really do either of these, either Culinary 3 or another humanities class that the student hasn't done yet. And that would be to make sure to finish out the elective focus. So if she signs up for Culinary 3 for next year, what we could do is go ahead and move these classes down here so that we know that her elective focus is finished. So Culinary 1, we got a 98. I'm going to erase that here because we moved it. We got a 98. Culinary 2 is current. And then next year we sign up for Culinary 3. And so that way all of the boxes are filled out on the whole thing. So next year the student is selecting Culinary 3, English 12, another math class, so maybe pre-calculus or applied math. They're going to select either chemistry or physics, U.S. history, government and economics, and it looks like that is it. So that is how this student can keep track of what credits they're supposed to be taking, and they can help make sure that they are on track and that they have what they need. A couple things I want to say: if you are going into your junior year, it would really be a good idea to have your fine art in place and at least the first part of your foreign language. So for math, if you passed algebra with an 80, and then for geometry, we would list it down here. You failed and you got a 50. So for next year, if you're going to be a junior, you need to go ahead so you'll need to take your junior year math, which would be algebra 2. And because you failed geometry, you would need to retake geometry. So for next year, you would be taking 2 maths. That is important because we have to keep you moving forward and on track. So there isn't really time to just do 1 next year, you would have to do 2. I hope that this has been helpful to understand what classes you'll want to select for next year. Within the next few weeks, definitely by the end of March, we'll be selecting courses, and you'll be going over that with a parent. This kind of can help guide that decision for what to select for next year. And again, just email your counselor if you have any questions.